Hello, 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 and welcome. Welcome to 3 tips for oboists who play other instruments. Thank you for joining me today. You may think that in order to be good at the oboe, you can only solely focus on the instrument, or that if you play another instrument, that accumulating any sort of skill on the oboe will be very difficult. And my hope is that this presentation will show you that that's not true. I've had many students over the years that have played multiple instruments and have played the oboe with success. Today, I would like to share some of the strategies that I use to help them play the oboe really beautifully. My name is Erin Brophy. I am the principal oboe player of the Saskatoon Symphony and a sessional lecturer at the University of Saskatchewan. Thank you for joining me today. Why am I doing these live presentations? Well, it has a lot to do with how I got started on the instrument and my experience of trying to improve my skill at the oboe. I'm Canadian. I'm from Northern Canada, a remote part of Canada that was a very beautiful place to grow up until I started to play the oboe. And that's where all the trouble started. Because I lived in a remote place, I did not have access to good information. I did not have access to functioning reeds. I did not have access to a functioning instrument. And for that reason, I really struggled. And there were a number of times in my journey as an oboe player that I almost gave up. I found it very frustrating without access to those things. If you fast forward 25 years, I feel very blessed that I make my living playing the oboe. And now I help others with their journey on the instrument. And I reflect that my experience of the instrument did not have to be that difficult. It did not have to be that frustrating. We have this amazing resource called the internet. And so it is my life's work to get good information out there. It's also one of the reasons why I created an amazing online program called the Oboe Path. The oboe path has broken down the steps necessary to improve on the oboe and enables an oboist to play with joy and ease. It uses a group online masterclass, personalized feedback, and a custom plan to help an oboe player become the oboe player that they are meant to be. With the group online masterclass, an oboist joins a community of like-minded oboe players all looking to improve. This helps with accountability and inspiration. Through a personalized, customized plan, an oboe player is able to fit improving the instrument into their busy lives. And through one-on-one feedback, an oboist goes to every practice session, know exactly what they need to do to improve, and so they start seeing the results immediately. It is my favorite. All right, let's get to it. 3 tips for oboists who play other instruments. Now, the first thing that I wanted to talk to you about is shifting your mindset. I think that there is, and I know that there have been oboe pedagogues in the past that have talked about, really physically dedicating yourself to learning the instrument, that it is so difficult, the oboe, that you really need your sole focus. And I know that there are pedagogues that teach that and believe that. And with respect, I don't think that's true. I've seen lots of instances of musicians that come to me and they love the oboe and they bring with them the skills of other instruments. And it only serves to enrich and inform their oboe playing. And I do think that it makes it easier to play the oboe if you play another instrument. I also think that there is a perception that what is the saying? Something, master of none. Jack of all trades, that's it. Jack of all trades and master of none. And I don't know. I think that's a mindset thing. I think that humans have a tendency to limit ourselves by telling ourselves untrue stories. Some of my most accomplished oboists that have gone through my studio played other instruments, and I've always encouraged that. And I think that there is a way for your life to enrich your oboe playing, and your oboe playing to enrich your life. And if you can be creative with that and flexible with that, playing the oboe can bring you so much joy. So I would encourage you, if you have some stories that you've been telling yourself or stories that a teacher has told you, I mean, it's understandable. That line of thinking is out there. Like, I want to acknowledge that that line of thinking is out there. That being said, tell yourself a different story. If you want to play the oboe, then play the oboe. If you want to play the oboe and still play the saxophone, trombone, piano, organ, xylophone, whatever it is, then do that. Your experience of music is really up to you, and it is possible to have enjoyment, but also play instruments, really many different instruments, really well. So if you can work on shifting your mindset and allowing that possibility into your life, I think you'll find that with shifting your mindset, you will find creative solutions to the problems that present themselves. And I guess that's the fundamental idea behind shifting your mindset, is that the solutions are within you. You can draw on your experience from the other instruments to make your oboe playing better. The second thing that I would suggest is, if you play multiple instruments and you have concern about, say, for example, the oboe embouchure versus your clarinet embouchure or your flute embouchure or your trombone embouchure, what I would suggest is build in to your practicing switching between the instruments. And so that, you don't have one specific time that you're playing oboe. You're going to play oboe for 2 months, and then you're going to switch to trombone for 2 months, and then you're going to play clarinet for 2 months. I would suggest that you should intersperse practicing the different instruments one after each other. Put it in the day. If you've got several instruments that you're playing, play the several instruments, so that you get used to switching back and forth. Because it is possible to form our mouths in many different ways. You start to accumulate the skill. Okay, I'm holding the oboe. This is the embouchure that it should feel like. This is what it should feel like. And if I'm holding the trombone, this is what my embouchure should feel like. Making those connections of habit go a long way towards you feeling secure that something's going to come out when you go to switch the instrument. So that's one of the things that I would suggest is not solely focusing on one instrument at a time, but do split your focus between them. Play a little oboe, play a little of your other instruments. That's only going to help you. It's going to help you become more flexible and also help you do the change. Because I think that is one of the things that's challenging, is being really aware of what you're doing for the specific instrument and then switching to the other instrument. Because of course, there are different things that we do physically on the instrument that don't apply, on the oboe rather, that don't apply to other instruments. Like we don't buzz our lips like you do on a brass instrument. Like every instrument has some specificity, but if you can make the physical connection to, I'm holding this instrument, this is the oboe, and this is the way that I form my embouchure, or this is the way that I blow on the oboe, or this is the way that I move my fingers on the oboe. I think it really should be specific to each instrument. And practicing it in such a way so you're accumulating that muscle memory and that skill, I think goes a long way towards you feeling confidence that you can switch and play both instruments at the same time. The third thing I would suggest for oboe playing, if you have oboe playing in your life and you play other instruments, is and this may be controversial, not one to shy away from controversy, I would suggest letting go of the idea of doing your own reed making. And if that's something that you've wanted to do, and just by hearing me give you permission, you can now do it, I'm so glad. Because, in oboe land, where I live, and in oboe land, there's sort of this perception that you're only a good oboe player if you can make your own reeds. And I call foul. I really think that is not what makes you an oboe player. Do you know what makes you an oboe player? Is playing the oboe. who cares where you're getting your reeds? If you've made them by hand, if you have sourced them from a reed maker, who cares? Because at the end of the day, no one sitting in the audience thinks to themselves, and I mean no one in the audience thinks to themselves, oh, well, that was beautiful, and they made their own reed. Because literally no one other than oboe players knows that we make our own reeds and or slash cares. You know, they like the sound, they don't care how we get there. It's oboe players that have kind of made this division of like, you're only a really good oboist if you know how to make reeds. As a professional oboe player who's been performing for 25 years and I make all my own reeds, if I could play the oboe without having to make my own reeds and I could outsource the number of reeds that I need every week to someone else, I would. Because although I love reed making and it's a really fun skill to have, and of course it helps you troubleshoot when you're in a concert if you know kind of what's going on with your reed. But that being said, me being a reed maker does not make me a musician. Being a reed maker is a craft, and it's something that takes an incredible amount of time to get better at. And if you simply want to play the oboe, buy your reeds, please. Your life will, just play the oboe. Buy your reeds. Now, the reason I don't buy my reeds is because I go through 10 reeds a week in order to do the amount of playing that I'm doing, performing in orchestra. But if you don't need 10 reeds a week, then by all means, buy your reeds. Play the oboe beautifully. Feel proud that you do not have to make your own reeds. Find a reliable reed source, and because if you're playing other instruments, the amount of time that you would need to get good at reed making would mean that you couldn't possibly play other instruments really well, because all of your time would be dedicated to playing the oboe and making your reeds. Now, I think having some reed making skill, some access to how to adjust the reeds could help you, absolutely. And if that's something that appeals to you, I encourage you to go down that road. But by and large, a lot of things that oboists blame on reeds in terms of frailties or weaknesses in their playing actually has to do with how they're set up and how they're coming to the instrument. And there are things you can do with your air, embouchure, approach to the oboe that would help you sound better before taking out a reed knife. So I would encourage you to let reed making go. Feel proud of that. Play the oboe beautifully. You are definitely an oboe player, even if you don't make reeds. So that is my recommendation for how to have oboe and other instruments in your life. Speaking of playing other instruments, I have an up-and-coming a free webinar, and specifically talking about English horn, which is what I like to call the grandma oboe, the bigger oboe, because playing the English horn is something that's different than playing the oboe. And a lot of oboe players approach their English horn player from the lens of playing the oboe, which I understand, because the fingerings are the same, but there's a lot about the English horn that's different. And so I'd like to invite you to this free webinar called Mastering the English Horn, Techniques, Insights, and Artistry. We're going to talk about the things that are specific to English horn playing when you're looking to improve your English horn playing. There is a link to that. You have to register. It is free, but you do have to register, so I can send you the Zoom link. It's not happening inside social media. So, but there is a link underneath this video that you can register, and I'll send you all the information. All right, I hope to see you there. Let's all become the oboists, or English horn players, that everyone wants to play with. Play the oboe with joy and ease. I'll see you next time. Take care.